Her parents told her to go to university and trust God for the rest. No money, no safety net. What happened next is a warning every student needs to hear. Once you graduate, your life will change. Just endure school. Everything will be better after. We didn't suffer for nothing. You will not suffer like us. They said it in the evenings when the generator was off and the house sat in darkness. They said it while counting money that was never enough. They said it when Amara brought home her results, and they nodded with tired pride. So when the admission letter came, nobody asked the hard questions. Nobody asked how the fees would be paid after the first semester. Nobody asked how rent, food, books, transport, and emergencies would be handled. Nobody asked what would happen if things got harder and celebrated. Amara packed her box with borrowed suitcases and secondhand clothes. Her mother pressed her hands together and prayed long prayers about favor and destiny. Her father stood quietly, repeating the same sentence like a promise. School is the key. Once you're inside, God will take over. Amara believed them. The first weeks felt like proof that they were right. The campus was big, loud, full of people who looked like they knew where they were going. She attended lectures with excitement, wrote notes carefully, and told herself she was building something important. When her parents called, she sounded strong. I'm fine. Everything is okay. I'm managing. But managing is not the same as surviving. By the second month, the cracks started showing. Her allowance arrived late, sometimes half of what was promised, sometimes not at all. She began skipping meals without telling anyone. She learned how to stretch one plate of rice across 2 days. She pretended not to notice when her roommate Tomi ordered food online like it was nothing. When Amara called home, the conversations changed. Her father stopped asking questions. Her mother started rushing the calls. Things are tight right now. Just manage small. God will make a way. Then the replies slowed. Messages stayed unread for days. Calls rang out without answer. When her parents eventually responded, the tone was the same. Don't worry us. School is hard for everyone. Just focus on your studies. Amara sat on her bed one night, staring at her phone, wondering when support turned into silence. Bills didn't wait for faith. Hostel fees were due. Departmental dues appeared suddenly. A course outline required textbooks she couldn't afford. She began borrowing money with shame, promising to pay back when she didn't know how. The hunger became familiar. So did the fear. One afternoon, after a lecture she barely understood because her head ached from hunger, Amara sat under a tree and cried quietly. Not loudly, not dramatically, just tears falling without sound. That was the first time she thought about dropping out. She called home that evening with trembling hands. I don't think I can do this anymore, she said carefully. It's too much. I'm struggling. There was silence on the line. Then her father spoke. You cannot stop now. Do you know how many people wish for this opportunity? Just endure. God will provide. Her mother added softly, if you leave now, what was all this for? No money followed the encouragement. No plan. Just words. Amara went back to school with those words and nothing else. She learned how to survive in ways nobody teaches during orientation. She avoided places that smelled like food. She stayed in the library longer because it was quiet and free. She accepted help she didn't want to accept. She learned how to smile while breaking inside. When she tried to explain again, her parents repeated the same thing. Continue. Endure. Everything will make sense later. They believed they were motivating her. They didn't know they were abandoning her. By her second year, Amara stopped calling as often. Not out of anger, but exhaustion. It hurt to explain pain that changed nothing. Her parents still told neighbors, our daughter is in university. They said it proudly. They didn't say she was hungry. They didn't say she cried alone. They didn't say she was learning survival before success. One evening, a junior student named Ifeanyi sat beside her during a power outage. I just got admission, he said with excitement. Any advice? Amara looked at him for a long moment. She wanted to tell him about lectures and grades. Instead, she asked quietly, do your parents have a plan? He laughed. They said God will help. Amara looked away. She had heard that before, and this time she knew how the story could go. Amara didn't answer Ifeanyi immediately, not because she didn't know what to say, but because the truth felt too heavy to drop on someone who was still smiling about admission. Instead, she asked, have you paid everything? Ifeanyi nodded proudly. First semester? Yes. My dad said we'll figure out the rest later. Amara forced a smile. Later was a dangerous word. She had learned that later usually meant not now, and not now often became never. Classes continued. So did life's quiet pressures. By her second year, Amara had mastered the art of looking fine. She dressed neatly, spoke politely, and avoided conversations that might expose her reality. When lecturers spoke about focus and discipline, she nodded like everyone else, even though her biggest distraction was survival. One morning, she woke up to a message pinned on her hostel notice board. Final notice. Outstanding fees must be cleared before course registration. Her chest tightened. She called home immediately. No answer. She sent a message explaining the situation in detail. She waited. Hours passed. The message was seen. No reply. When her mother finally called back that evening, her voice was tired. "We don't have it right now," she said. "Just talk to the school." Amara swallowed. "They won't allow me register." There was a pause. "Please don't disgrace us," her father said in the background. "You're already there. Finish what you started." That was the conversation. No transfer followed. No solution, just expectation. Amara went to the department office the next day, heart pounding. She stood in line with other students, each carrying their own burdens. When it was her turn, she explained her situation quietly. The woman behind the desk didn't look up. "Next person," she said. Amara stepped aside, invisible. That night, she sat on her bed staring at the ceiling, calculating numbers that never balanced. Her roommate Tommy chatted on the phone, laughing, planning a weekend outing. "Are you coming with us?" Tommy asked casually. Amara shook her head. "I have things to do." She always had things to do. Mostly thinking, mostly worrying. She began skipping lectures she couldn't concentrate in. Not because she didn't care, but because hunger makes thinking difficult. Her grades slipped slightly. Not enough to fail, but enough to scare her. When she mentioned this at home, her parents reacted quickly. "You must not fail. We didn't send you there to waste time. Read harder." Amara wanted to scream. Send? They hadn't sent anything in months. She started taking small jobs, typing assignments, helping classmates study, cleaning rooms on weekends, anything that put food in her stomach or helped her pay part of a bill. Still, it wasn't enough. One afternoon, she overheard two students talking behind her. "Some people are in school but can't afford toothpaste. That's why poor people shouldn't rush university." Amara pretended not to hear, but the words stuck. That night, she wrote in her notebook, "They told me education would save me. Nobody told me it could break me first." Her parents still believed they were doing the right thing. They believed endurance was the same as support. They believed faith could replace planning. They believed love was encouragement without responsibility. By third year, Amara stopped asking for help completely. Not because she didn't need it, but because rejection hurts more when it comes from home. She survived quietly. She learned how to eat once a day and function. She learned how to sit through lectures dizzy and still take notes. She learned how to smile at graduation photos on social media, while her reality looked nothing like celebration. Then one day, something happened that changed how she saw everything. She collapsed during a lecture. Not dramatically, not loudly. Her body simply gave up. She woke up in the campus clinic with an IV drip in her hand and a nurse looking down at her. "When last did you eat properly?" the nurse asked. Amara didn't answer. Because the answer would have been embarrassing. When her parents were called, they reacted with shock. "Why didn't you tell us it was this bad?" her mother cried on the phone. Amara closed her eyes. She had told them, many times. That moment broke something inside her. Not her love for them, but her belief. She realized something painful and important. Good intentions do not pay school fees. Encouragement does not buy food. Faith without planning leaves children stranded. When she was discharged, she returned to her hostel quieter than before. Stronger. Not because things had improved, but because she finally understood the truth. University was not automatically a ladder out of poverty. For some, it was a battlefield, and nobody warns you before you enter. After the collapse, nothing looked the same. Amara returned to lectures with a new awareness. Not motivation, not hope, but clarity. She stopped lying to herself about strength. What she had been calling endurance was actually slow erosion. Her parents called more often for a while. "How are you feeling now? Are you eating? Please take care of yourself." Concern came easily after crisis. Support still did not. When Amara hinted at money again, the response remained unchanged. "Things are still hard. Just manage small. God will do it." She stopped responding to those parts of the conversation. Instead, she made decisions. Not dramatic ones, practical ones. She applied for every scholarship she heard about, even the ones that required essays. She stayed up all night writing. She begged departments for extensions. She negotiated with hostel management. She sold personal items she once considered untouchable. a wristwatch, a pair of shoes, a borrowed laptop she replaced later with shame. She stopped expecting rescue. That shift changed her. She became sharper, less emotional, more strategic. When lecturers spoke, she listened with purpose. When deadlines came, she planned days ahead. She learned to ask for help where it made sense and stopped asking where it didn't. Her parents still believed perseverance alone would carry her through. Amara learned that perseverance without provision is punishment. One afternoon, Ifeanyi found her sitting outside the library. "I got my school list today," he said excitedly. "They're asking for money every week." Amara looked at him carefully. "Do you know how much your parents can support you monthly?" she asked. He hesitated. "I'm not sure." "Ask them," Amara said gently. "Not after you enter. Before." He frowned. "Is it that serious?" Amara nodded. "Yes." That was the first time she spoke plainly. No fear, no sugarcoating, because someone had needed to speak plainly to her once. Third year came with pressure. Fourth year came with exhaustion. Amara watched classmates drop out quietly. Some disappeared mid-semester, others deferred and never returned. Their stories were never told, only their absence remained. When she called home less, her parents accused her of pride. "You don't call like before. School has changed you." She almost laughed. School hadn't changed her. Reality had. One night, during a particularly hard week, Amara opened her old admission letter. She read it slowly. The excitement she once felt now felt distant, almost naive. She wondered who she would have been if someone had sat her down and told her the truth. That education is powerful, but not magical. That struggle doesn't automatically mean progress. That love must be backed by responsibility. Her final year arrived without celebration. Project work drained her savings. Printing alone became a problem. When she asked home for help one last time, her father sighed. "We've done our best." That sentence ended everything, because best should not mean absence. Amara finished her project through favors, sleepless nights, and borrowed resources. When she finally submitted it, she felt no joy, only relief. Relief that the suffering was almost over. Graduation day came quietly. Her parents couldn't attend. They congratulated her over the phone, their voices full of pride. "You see, we told you it would work out." Amara said nothing, because she knew the truth. It worked out despite the system, not because of it. She graduated with more than a degree. She graduated with scars and lessons nobody puts in the handbook. Later, when students asked her for advice, she didn't discourage them from school. She discouraged them from illusion. She said, "University is not a prayer point. It's a commitment. If your support is faith alone, think twice." Some listened, some didn't. But Amara spoke anyway, because silence is how cycles repeat, and she had suffered enough to break one. Life after graduation did not arrive with fireworks. There was no sudden breakthrough, no dramatic reward for endurance, no moment where the universe apologized for how hard things had been. There was just reality. Amara moved back home quietly, carrying her degree in a brown envelope and her experiences in silence. Neighbors congratulated her. Church members called her our graduate. Her parents beamed with pride, telling anyone who would listen that education truly works. Amara smiled politely, but inside something had shifted. She was no longer impressed by applause that came after survival. Job hunting began almost immediately. Applications sent, emails unanswered, interviews postponed, transport money carefully rationed. Each rejection felt familiar. Another reminder that finishing school was not the finish line she had been promised. One afternoon, her father asked, "So what's next now?" Amara looked at him. That question would have scared her years ago. Now it didn't. "I'm figuring it out," she said calmly. He nodded, satisfied, as though that answer closed the matter. It didn't. At home, things were not easier. Money was still scarce. Expectations were heavier. She was now educated, but still broke, still hungry sometimes, still navigating a system that did not bend easily for effort. Her parents began suggesting postgraduate studies. "You can't stop here. More education will open more doors. You already know how school is." Amara felt a quiet anger rise. This time, she didn't swallow it. "I can't go back to school without a plan," she said firmly. "I won't survive another round like that." Her mother looked surprised. Her father frowned. "So what are you saying?" he asked. "I'm saying education without support almost destroyed me," Amara replied. "And I won't pretend it didn't." The room went quiet. That was the first time she said it out loud. Not to friends, not to strangers, to the people who sent her into the storm with prayers and no umbrella. They didn't argue, they didn't apologize either, but something changed. Amara began speaking openly to younger students, not as a motivational speaker, as a witness. She told them what no brochure ever would, that school demands money as much as effort, that hunger affects grades more than laziness, that faith is not a financial plan. Some parents listened, some felt offended, but students paid attention. Ifani called her one evening. I deferred, he said quietly. My parents and I talked. We're going to plan better. Amara closed her eyes. That one sentence made everything feel worth it. She didn't regret going to university. She regretted going unprepared. She regretted believing suffering was proof of destiny. She regretted confusing endurance with wisdom. Over time, Amara found her footing, slowly, honestly, without fantasy. She took small jobs, built skills, learned how to survive without romanticizing struggle. She stopped glorifying pain. She stopped encouraging blind persistence. And when people asked her, "Is university worth it?" she answered carefully. "It can be," she said, "but only if you know what you're walking into." Because dreams are powerful, but reality always collects payment. Amara didn't become bitter. That surprised even her. After everything, after the hunger, the silence, the collapse, the years of carrying responsibility alone, she didn't hate school. She didn't hate her parents. She didn't even hate the system. She became honest. And honesty, she learned, was far more disruptive than anger. As months passed, Amara began to notice how often young people spoke about university like it was a miracle waiting to happen. Once I enter school, everything will change. My parents said education is the only way. I'll manage somehow. She had said those same things once. Now she asked different questions. Who will pay your rent when fees increase? What happens if your parents' situation gets worse, not better? How long can you survive on encouragement alone? Most people had no answers. And that was the problem. One afternoon, Amara was invited to speak at a small youth program. Nothing official, no stage, just a room full of secondary school students and a few parents. She didn't motivate them. She warned them. She told them about eating once a day and still writing exams, about unread messages and missed calls from home, about collapsing in class and waking up to concern, but not support, about being told to endure while bills piled up. The room was quiet. Parents shifted uncomfortably. Students listened closely. This is not to scare you, Amara said finally. It's to prepare you. Education is powerful, but it's not magic, and love without provision becomes pressure. A woman stood up afterward, holding her son's hand. Thank you, she said softly. Nobody ever said this to us. Amara nodded. That was the point. Nobody ever said it. At home, her relationship with her parents changed, not dramatically, but truthfully. They still believed education mattered. She still respected their sacrifices, but the silence between them now carried understanding instead of avoidance. One evening, her mother said quietly, "We didn't know how bad it was." Amara looked at her. "You knew," she said gently. "You just didn't know what to do." Her mother nodded, tears in her eyes. That was enough. Amara didn't need apologies anymore. She needed growth. Years later, when she had stabilized, when life finally felt steady, Amara reflected on her journey without resentment. University had not ruined her, but the lie around it almost did. The lie that struggle automatically means progress, the lie that faith replaces planning, the lie that children should carry dreams without resources. She still believed in education, but now she believed in preparation more. And when students asked her, "Should I go to university?" she never answered yes or no. She asked instead, "Are you supported or just encouraged? Do your parents have a plan or just hope? Are you ready to survive if things go wrong?" Because dreams are important, but survival is necessary. And nobody deserves to learn that lesson the hard way. Final message to the viewer.
If you're watching this and planning to enter university, pause. Ask the hard questions. Demand honest answers. Plan beyond faith. Education can change your life, but only if you're not left to survive it alone.
Before you enter university, this is the conversation nobody has. Subscribe for stories that prepare you for real life, not illusions. Like this video if you believe education needs honesty, not hype. Comment below. Should parents plan better before sending children to school?